I'll never forget the look on Karen's face as the red and blue lights flashed across her perfectly maintained lawn. There she stood, arms crossed, that smug smile plastered across her face as she gestured dramatically toward our gated driveway. She was certain this was her moment of triumph after weeks of harassment. The two police officers approached slowly, and I watched from our security camera feed as one of them touched his earpiece, listening intently. His expression changed and he turned to Karen with newfound skepticism. "Ma'am, dispatch is telling us this is a false report," he said firmly. "There's no emergency at this address." Karen's jaw dropped. My wife Elaine and I had moved into our dream home just 3 months earlier, technically outside Oakwood Estates' HOA boundaries. Our property was private, with documentation to prove it, but that hadn't stopped Karen Wilkins, the self-appointed HOA president, from making our lives miserable. She arrived a week after we moved in, clipboard in hand and smile like a weapon, lecturing me about mailbox standards. When I explained that our property wasn't part of the HOA, she waved it off. "That's a common misconception," she said, handing me a binder full of rules about beige paint and gnome height limits. Soon came complaints about landscaping, porch lights, and community harmony. When we ignored her, she escalated, taking photos, blocking our driveway with her golf cart, measuring hedge height, even sending a certified letter demanding $750 in fines. That's when I installed a security gate. Karen's fury was immediate. She left voicemails demanding access codes, quoting imaginary right of inspection clauses, and threatening lawsuits. I kept every recording.
10 came the morning it all boiled over.
She stood at our gate, finger glued to the buzzer, shouting that she needed to inspect the property. I reminded her calmly that she had no authority.
Herr Feest twisted with Rage.
"You'll regret this," she hissed before storming off. 20 minutes later, the camera caught her again, on her phone, eyes blazing. "Yes, I need police immediately," she said.
I heard screaming.
Someone might be hurt. What Karen didn't know was that the 911 dispatcher she reached was my wife. Elaine recognized her voice instantly, and our address. She couldn't dismiss the call outright, but she flagged it as a possible false report and dispatched officers for a welfare check instead of an emergency. She also documented that the caller was a known harasser. When the police arrived, Karen rushed over, pointing dramatically at our house. I met them at the gate, ID in hand. "There's no emergency here," I explained. "This woman's been harassing us for months." One officer nodded, listening to his earpiece. "Sir, is your wife Elaine Miller?" he asked. When I confirmed, his tone shifted. Turning to Karen, he said, "Ma'am, the dispatcher who took your call is this gentleman's wife. She's informed us of your ongoing harassment."
Karen's bravado faltert.
"That's not true. She's covering for him." But the second officer cut her off. "Ma'am, all 911 calls are recorded. You claim to hear screaming, but dispatch records show this isn't your first false report." By now, neighbors had gathered, watching as Karen's confidence crumbled. "Karen Wilkins," the first officer said formally, "you're being placed under arrest for filing a false police report and misuse of emergency services." She sputtered, "I'm the president of the Homeowners Association. You can't arrest me for protecting the neighborhood."
But they could, and did.
As they guided her toward the patrol car, she glared at me. "This isn't over," she spat. "Actually, Karen," I replied calmly, "I think it is." The street was silent as the cruiser drove away. One neighbor approached quietly. "We've been waiting years for someone to stand up to her," he said. Afterward, I reached Elaine, who confirmed she'd documented everything. Karen's false report and months of harassment were now part of a formal case file. 3 weeks later, at her hearing, Karen was found guilty of filing a false police report and misusing emergency services. Our documentation sealed her fate. The judge fined her $5,000, gave her a year of probation, and ordered 200 hours of community service. We also received a restraining order keeping her 100 feet away from our property. The most satisfying moment came from within the HOA itself. An emergency meeting was called, and Karen was unanimously voted out as P.